Welcome back to the podcast for Scottsdale Living, brought to you by FeedSpot. Love the guys at FeedSpot, by the way. That's a little plug for them, so give them a little something. But we're here today with Sharon Bondurant, right?
Bondurant.
Bondurant, got it. And with the Finders. And she owns a recruiting company here in Scottsdale. Actually, absolutely amazing. Great career to be in, and you get to help a ton of people. But I mean, what I found really cool is, so like 1998, you're sitting in your house, you got a baby or you got a kid, you got a fax machine, you got a whole bunch of Rolodex cards, and here you go, right?
Yeah.
Is that kind of how it kicked off?
Yeah, it really, I found recruiting. I always say I found recruiting.
Sure.
Because back, when I first started, no one was really a recruiter.
Right.
No one, woke up and went to school and said, I want to be a recruiter one day.
Right?
It wasn't like that. So I found recruiting. I went to ASU and I graduated from there and had no idea. Yeah. And both my boys are Sun Devils too now.
Cool.
But anyway, so after college, I had no idea what I wanted to do at all. So I just, I would take a position or take a job back then and would realize very quickly that it just wasn't for me. And I did that for several years. And then I found recruiting when I had a friend, come in. We were chatting, and they just started a new position, and they were telling me about everything that they were doing at their job, helping people and coaching them, et cetera. So I just found a newspaper ad at the time and went in. They said that they would train, and I just instantly knew, like, I found my place.
Was this the recruiting job?
It was a recruiting job. Yeah. But back in the day, it was like an open pod.
Sure.
And it was really like a draw against commission. So it was like a $3.35 per hour job. And so I told my parents, I said, I found my calling.
You got to perform to eat though, right? You got to perform to eat.
Yeah. And they were so excited. They're like, well, how much, what's your salary and everything? They had helped me, go through college. And I said, well, it's $3.35 an hour, but I just know I'm going to be good at it. I just had that feeling. So I did that for 3 years. I loved it. I loved everything I was doing. I excelled quickly.
Sure.
And then I was asked to start a new branch in Tempe as a manager. So at the same time, I did become pregnant with my first son.
Sure.
And again, I was in my 20s. So I was very ambitious and a little bit naive because I thought I can just,
I think any small business owner is a little naive, right? You get into it thinking, I can do this. And then you're like, oh my gosh, what is that?
Yeah. And I'm so thankful for that. And sometimes I wish I was a little bit, more naive now.
Yeah, I know, right? You get a little jaded.
Why can I not know some things? So anyway, so I thought I was going to have my son, go right back to work, continue on. And the moment I looked at him, I thought my whole world just completely shifted. Sure. And I knew at that moment, I looked at him and I thought, I quit. Like, I don't want to leave him.
That's crazy.
So that was really, I always feel like that was a really significant time and moment because I knew I didn't have a plan B. I was not going to.
So you were like work from home before work from home was a thing.
Yeah.
Right?
So back, in 1998, we didn't have computers, cell phones, or anything like that.
I love the fax machine.
The fax machine
was
my
fax? I'm waiting for my fax.
It was my best friend.
Yeah.
And the phone, because it was just cold calling through a yellow page. Like nowadays, we don't even have that. I don't think anymore, but it was yellow pages. So so it started, every time he would go down for a nap, I just was like, I'm going to do this thing on my own. I know enough to be dangerous in what I was doing, and just started it very organically.
So it's kind of, in the recruiting world, I guess it confuses me a little bit because who is your client? Is it the person that you're placing, or is it the business more, or is it both?
It is definitely both, but we get paid from our client.
Gotcha. Okay.
So they usually come to us. It's usually a very difficult position, at least what we focus on. It's usually they've tried to find that person, on their own, and they just cannot do it. So we're always like the 911. They call us and say, it's an emergency. Yeah. And then we go out and we're headhunting. We're really looking for the right person, but it is the client that pays us. So we have to, make
that's
sure that
we're... That's where your fiduciary responsibility is, kind of deal. Yeah.
Yeah.
So how does that work as far as, do you have to derive the skill set and do all the testing and all that stuff? Or do you kind of just vet them and hand them off to the client at the end of the day?
Yeah, we usually do the qualifying and the vetting. Sometimes we do the testing, but it's very customized. So I always think of it for our clients, we're kind of that boutique concierge headhunter, really. So we do it the way that they, want us to do. We do, give them some advice and some coaching on that. But if there's different assessments or different testing, personality, behavioral assessments, we honor what they're doing and we can partner with them to do that.
Right. So what part of it do you find the most difficult? Like, I mean, is it hard to find that right person to plug in? Or is it hard to vet the right person? I mean, I'm sure you go through a lot of different things for every position. Huh?
It's very interesting because the market right now, especially this year in Scottsdale, Phoenix area, it's been difficult for some candidates. I mean, really, really great people have lost their jobs. Yeah, have gotten laid off or have made decisions I need to leave for for various reasons. So the market's definitely been tougher here. Sure. And I'm sure it is across the country, but we focus in on Arizona. Okay. So this is your home base. This is where you roll. So it's tough to find the right person for that particular company. So we're very focused on not only finding the right skill set, but the whole other 50% of it it's the culture fit. Yeah. It's, how is this person going to mesh with our team? How are they going to work with their coworkers and with that particular manager? So that's really the hardest part.
I bet. Yeah. So how does that process work? Do you actually bring the people in, multiple interviews? Do they get past you before they see the company, or do they kind of know what it is?
Yeah. So what we do is we tell that company story. Sure. So it's a lot of work with our client to really understand not only the skill set, they'll send us the job description, but that's kind of where it starts. Sure. So it's always asking, our job, we have to be very curious in our job as recruiters. And we have
questions. Huh?
Right. It always is like asking that question and then asking it again in a different way. Sure. And keep asking those questions.
It's an interrogation, right?
Yeah. Well, it's more just what's the real thing that we're looking for, right? And my background's in psychology, so I get to, that's why I loved recruiting. I'm like, I get to use this every single day.
No doubt. And get paid for it too, right?
Yeah, with candidates, with clients, with trying to just identify what's the real need. Sure. Because sometimes our clients don't know. They think it's one thing. And by asking the questions totally. And having that conversation and really understanding okay, you actually need two different people. You're looking for two different skill sets in one person.
Doesn't exist maybe or what? Yeah.
Maybe, but it's a unicorn, like a purple unicorn. So it's just doing a lot of that coaching and working with our clients. But I would say, it's just, it really varies on the client.
Sure. So do you think the cultural fit is more important or the skill set? I mean, obviously the skill set's really important, right? But I think maybe people can learn skill sets sometimes. And culture seems like it'd be a really big one.
Yeah, it is. But usually when clients come and engage with us, it is, they're investing in us. And usually they want, culture's important, but here's the skill set because we focus in tech, HR, and finance.
Okay, so they got to know what they're doing.
Yeah, so they're usually very, usually senior level, C-suite, management director. So they do need, it has to be the full package.
Right. So do you find that, I mean, I would imagine that the C-suite level, even executive director kind of level, those guys usually have jobs now, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, is that a Rolodex of yours where people have said, hey, I've got a job, but I'm kind of open, Is that how it works? Or?
Yes. Yeah. Okay. For the most part. But we've been here for 25 years. So we do have a huge network of people and we can tap into that. But again, it's interesting. And I think that's the fun part is usually every position that we work on and every search that we get, it is very specific and unique to that company. Sure. So we're starting from scratch. We're taking what they've told us and then we're going out to the market really. Yeah. And we've created a story of why would someone want to leave a really great paying job that they're fairly happy in, but still come and try something new. Right. And it's a hard thing. If someone's been in that role for a long time, you know what you have. Right. So it's us really, really identifying what does that candidate really want? What's missing? And there usually is something that's missing and we need to know that. So we do work with the candidates, and the clients. And
well, it's funny you brought up storytelling, right? Because I feel like storytelling is kind of worked its way into every part of the business anymore. I mean, from sales and not you're using it in recruiting, the same thing. It's kind of interesting, right? You got to develop that whole story to kind of bring somebody into it.
Right.
Different approach,
Yeah. And that's why we work, we usually choose to work with someone because you resonate with them or they have a story that you are either inspired by or can relate to. So it really is like our business is all about just, I think, life in general and people that you meet. And it's all about like, what's the story?
Yeah, absolutely. So tell us a little
that?
of the journey, right? So, I mean, you start out just literally out of your living room, and now, I mean, you've got a nice, thriving, successful business, and you got staff. So, I mean, how did that come about? Did you have that vision in your mind when you first started?
I did. I always, 3 things that I wanted when I first started out on that journey is I wanted to help people. So everything, luckily, I mean, with recruiting, that's all we do.
Yeah, that's totally cool.
But I had to help people. The other thing is that I had to make a decent living. So there had to be an opportunity where, I could make a good living. And 3, I always wanted to own my own business. I'd always wanted to. So with the staffing, and I think that's when I got into recruiting, I knew it like checked all those boxes.
Right.
And people even today, they're like, why you're still doing this? Like, not to date myself, but I've been doing it like 28 years. Right. So, and now my kids are like the age that I was when I first started. So people will be like, why
are they in the family business?
No, they're in finance. I have 2 boys in finance.
Did you place them?
I did not. No. And I've always said, like, go do your own thing. And just later down the road, if you ever want to help me, you can. But I will say my oldest son helps me with my finances.
Oh, really? That's cool. I love it.
So anyway, I forgot even what was I saying?
You know what? I kind of got wandered off on it too. We're going sideways, but so, I mean, we were talking about the evolution of the business. The journey.
So I always knew I wanted to, start my own company, and it grew very organically. I was fortunate enough. It was about 2 years in. I mean, so there was definitely, even to this day, there's hard times with running a business. Right. And that never changes. But it took about 2 or 3 years, and I landed my first like real client that was growing. And
multiple jobs, multiple placements, ongoing. That's cool.
Yeah. And at the time I got a lot. It was too much for one person to handle. And that's what really drove me like, okay, I need to add to my team now out of necessity. And it's
kind of terrifying at that point too, though, right?
Yeah.
I mean, because you're giving up a little part you're giving up control,
Yeah. And that took a long time. And now I think I've gotten really good at giving up control to people on my team, because I know I can't do it without them. Right. And I get to do what I enjoy, and I get to, help coach and mentor other people to do some of the stuff where they're better at it than me by far.
Which is cool, right? That's really cool. Good for you.
So I love seeing that. So that's been really rewarding to help other people, like new people. We usually take people that don't have any experience and train them and just see kind of their face light up when they, they grasp the concept. Totally. So, okay, this is what, how we do it. Right. And so this year we've hired 2 new people. We get to have that's fantastic. They see things in a different way and can add so much to what we're already doing.
So like ground floor, what are they doing? I mean, they're on the yellow pages and hitting the phone, or are you built up to the point where you're assigning them clients and stuff?
Yeah, no. So when we bring people in now, our 2 new staff members, we want them to just really get on the phones, because no matter, and that's what I love, no matter how long we've been doing this, it really does come down to having relationships.
100%, right.
Building those relationships up and having conversations. So it's still about the phone. It's just really about, knowing who to contact and how to get a hold of them and
get past the gatekeeper, the whole deal, right?
So we start them working with the candidates first. And then they have a progression where they get to, move up into clients and account manager and all of that.
So would you say you get a lot of people approaching you? They're like, hey, I want a new job. What do you have out there for me? I mean, is that a regular thing too?
Yeah, we really do. It's kind of a mix, because a lot of times we try to be a resource for them. So we do have a lot of people that come, to our website through LinkedIn. Right. We have a pretty large presence on LinkedIn. So a lot of times if we're not able to help them, then we're able to offer different resources. Or if I have a connection on LinkedIn, I always tell people like, look, if there's someone that you see that I'm connected with, like, let me know and I'll make an introduction. So I try to, again, it's all about being helpful and adding value.
So do you find LinkedIn like your main playground?
Yeah.
Is it? Yeah. It's kind of funny because, I mean, and I guess LinkedIn is social media, right? So, I mean, out of all the social medias, that's the one that I really haven't grasped the best, but I get it. But I mean, so for you, that's got to be an unbelievable resource, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I always share with my, business owners and with my candidates, like that is such an untapped place to, to network, to learn just about your industry, where there's different articles and videos and everything. So yeah, it's definitely.
So what would be some tips? I mean, what are some tips to make your LinkedIn kind of stick out and pop? I mean, do you help people with that?
Yeah. For our candidates, I was speaking with a candidate yesterday who just got laid off. Mm-hmm. They're a DevOps engineer. I know. Yeah. So I'm always like, oh, okay. Yeah. So my team, I think we're really good at just being able to, just really like listen to what they're looking for.
Be empathetic too, right?
Yeah, because it's hard. Sure. So yeah, just looking at their LinkedIn profile, a couple different things from a candidate standpoint. Sure. There's usually a button that you can have on your profile that says that you're open to work.
Cool. Okay.
Some people, they don't know about it or they don't do it. So I always suggest, especially if someone's, had a layoff and they're actively looking, to turn that on.
Just let people know, right?
Yeah. And just to realize that LinkedIn is definitely like your friend when you're looking for a job, because that's where all of the recruiters, whether it's an agency recruiter like myself or a recruiter for a corporation, they're all on that and they're all looking for you, for the candidate. So you just have to be accessible and visible for them to find you. So that's the whole thing. It's kind of like you want to make sure that that's a great place for you. It's kind of like your real estate. So everything from your profile picture to there's like a banner up, above that. Utilize that. Like there's a way to put like a custom, information or your phone number or your email and make it like your personal brand.
Right.
So we go through all of that. With our candidates, and then just little things. I think like the biggest takeaway is just making sure that your LinkedIn profile really says what you want clients to know about you as far as your skill set and have it match your resume, because even, to this day, like, 2023, resumes are still the key thing that's going to kind of get your foot in the door. And you just want to make sure that everything it lines up.
Right. And it's kind of funny because it's a little archaic because it's just a piece of paper, right? Mm-hmm. But that's still the driving thing, huh?
Yeah, it still is.
So what do you, this is kind of a crazy question and I don't know if you have an answer to it, but what do people do on social media that gets seen, that gets them excluded? Does that happen?
Yeah, all the time. Yeah. All the time. And I don't think people, you just have to remember because we don't look for jobs all the time.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's more now than it was before, but every, 3 years or so, 4 years, depending on your role. I mean, people are looking unless they're owning their own company.
Right.
So I would just say, be very careful about what you like, for example, on LinkedIn, what you like what posts you're actually liking, what you're commenting on.
Because everybody
and
sees
what you're sharing. And that goes for all social media.
Sure.
Because in LinkedIn, and I know it like on Instagram, I don't think it's a little bit different. But on LinkedIn, for example, if you make a comment, that comment goes out to all of your followers. And it'll say, so-and-so said
up in
this.
Their feed,
So it could even be something like that where just you want to be politically correct. Sure. And I know a lot of recruiters, and I've done this myself, you can go, let's say you're looking at someone's profile, you can click on there and see all of their past posts.
Right.
So let's say it's a marketing position and you look at a candidate and they haven't been posting, they don't have any posts and they don't have a lot of, people that they're connected with, and you need someone that's great, with networking.
Sure.
Well, that's saying something without saying something. Yeah,
totally.
You know?
So do you get into like their Facebook and Instagram and stuff too? Or do the business, the clients at the end of the day?
Yeah, it depends on some recruiters will, but they definitely LinkedIn.
Right.
So I would always suggest, if you are in a job search, you want to just make sure that you're private on Facebook and Instagram. LinkedIn, you don't want to be private. You want people to, you want to be seen.
Sure.
So you just want to make sure that what people are looking at and seeing is positive and a good representation of.
It's funny, right? Because I know there's some software out there that like cross posts, I don't know if you've ever run into this, but so, I mean, I've seen people that don't realize what's happening and they'll be posting stuff on Facebook and Instagram. It automatically goes on their LinkedIn and it's like, dude, you did not want that from here to there, two different worlds, right?
That's true. So so I would suggest even looking back through, because you can click and see all of, everything that they posted, go back through and clean. Yeah. If you see something, you can delete.
Sure.
a past post or, just something that you're like, better take it off
totally.
and leave it on.
If it's in the gray, get it out of there, right? Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about resumes, because it's kind of funny. We just hired an intern from ASU, from the Cronkite School, which is really, really cool. It was fun. It's a really cool journey that we went on with them. But we had a ton of candidates. And you're right. The first touch is that resume. And boy, their resume sucked. It was horrible. And it's like, oh my God, you guys are like seniors in college and this thing is a disaster, So what do you recommend people do? Because I know there's like people out there that just do resumes, right?
Yeah. So I would say you could definitely invest in someone that does your resume. Sure. And that's probably probably the easiest thing.
Yeah. Just pay the money.
Yeah. There's other things that you can do. And especially with AI now, I mean, with Chat GPT, like you can literally put your resume together just enough.
Sure.
And then put that in to AI and have it like rewrite it.
Kick out some crazy stuff, right?
And yeah.
Just gotta be careful it's accurate,
Exactly. Yeah. So you really want to just know, for anyone out there that is, interviewing, just know your resume. Sure. So if someone is helping you, make sure that you know what's on there.
What it says, and
can talk to every single thing that's on there. Because that clients, they'll be like, they didn't even, we asked them a question and they didn't even know what we were talking about or know the answer or know the resume. Yeah.
That's ridiculous. Yeah. So what level of, what people use, because I've seen this more and more, like they have their own website. It's like, johndoring.com and it's their online resume. Is that getting pretty prevalent, or do people even care about that?
I think it's always a good thing. So as a candidate, I think the more you can stand out and do something a little bit different and have that on your resume with a link, especially if you're in like the creative space and you have a portfolio, you want to put that out there. Right. I think the biggest thing is just making sure that you just make it easy for anyone that's interviewing you or
to find you and know you.
To say this is the perfect person.
Sure. Yeah. What do you think about video? So like, has video kind of worked its way into the recruiting world?
It really has. It's kind of, I find that a lot of employers are still a little bit old school when it comes to that.
Yeah. Sure.
And they haven't really embraced it as much as they probably will over the next few years.
Which is funny because, it seems like that would be the perfect way to get the actual feel for somebody.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Versus a resume.
Yeah. Especially for sales and marketing and more of like the communication type positions. Sometimes with tech, they prefer just the face-to-face with the whiteboard, just kind of
write out the code.
Yeah. It's still like that. So,
totally.
Yeah.
What do you find the hardest positions to place? I'm sure it changes with the economy.
It does change. It really changes. And it depends on what, industry and vertical we're looking for. But developers are always difficult on the tech side.
Really? Mm-hmm. So it seems like there's a ton of them. What makes it challenging? Just that skill set?
Yeah, that and just the environment itself. Yeah. So a company, it's very specific about the tools that it's using, and the culture fit, and what they're doing, and
So tech companies like have a totally different culture than the rest of the world. It seems like, huh? Mm-hmm. Are they still at that throwing bags in the office and doing that stuff, that whole kind of thing still, or is it evolved?
It's interesting because after COVID, and that's another big challenge in the recruiting industry right now, and just in business in general, is that the companies want their staff and team back in the office, and
people don't want to be back in the office.
People don't. Yeah. So I think now that the market has changed this past year, it's almost leveled that field a bit because, last year it was really difficult.
Sure.
And it was almost like the candidates had a little bit of leverage.
Right. Yeah.
Because the clients really were in demand, for the skill set. Sure. And they didn't want to go back to the office, the candidates. Now with this market this year, people are more open. So like, sure, I'll go back into the office.
Yeah, totally. So what do you see? Do you feel like most companies are going back to full-time in the office, or is it a hybrid?
It's usually a hybrid.
Is it?
So I've seen a lot of most of our clients, I would say, have at least one day hybrid. Mm-hmm. Monday or Friday, it seems.
The 3-day
which
weekend,
is nice.
Of course,
Yeah.
You don't want Wednesday at home.
Right,
it's like, that's not good.
But it's usually like, I would say between 2 to 3 days.
Sure.
Hybrid, which makes it easier for our candidates and people. They need flexibility. We all do,
So what do your clients say about productivity, though? Do they feel like the productivity is down when people are virtual?
Studies have shown that it's really not.
Really?
Yeah. And our office, we used to have a really large office right up at Scottsdale and Mayo.
Sure.
For over 12 years. And then we were down Scottsdale a little bit further. But after COVID, the thought was, okay, we're going to, be remote. Then everyone's going to go back to the office. And it never happened.
Right.
So, and I know my team, we work probably more than we did.
Sure.
I have to tell my team.
Well, when you work virtually, right? You're always working.
Always,
it's always in your face. That's for sure true.
Yeah. So I have to tell my team, please, stop.
Yeah. No, totally. Go do something.
Yeah.
Go.
Yeah. It'll be here tomorrow.
Yeah. So. It's kind of funny, that whole virtual thing with the office space, though, right? Because if you drive the 101, around the loop at the north end, there is a lot of empty space.
Yeah.
So much commercial space that's empty. And it seems like those companies probably aren't going back to it, right?
Yeah.
So did you guys change your whole business model?
We did.
Yeah. Reduce the office space and everything else?
Yeah. So we're all remote completely.
Oh, wow. Okay.
We have Zoom meetings.
Sure.
I was in a Zoom meeting before I came in here in the car.
Yep.
But it just works.
Sure.
I think we're all more connected in my office than we were when we were actually in the office sitting next to each other. Yeah.
Do you guys do get-togethers though in person? Plan out weekly things or something?
Yeah, we do. We probably, I would say we don't do it as much as we want to, because we'll turn around and, 3 weeks have gone by, 4 weeks.
Time flies.
But we did our holiday party. So usually, with the exception
more team
of
building
one,
kind of things.
I want my team to be here in Arizona because our clients are here. And it's just, we want that ability.
Do you find
to
clients wanting to meet you guys in person?
Yeah. That's how our model is, more of that. Just being in person is so helpful. Just seeing the environment and meeting the managers face to face, and
Well, and that's got to give you a leg up on the competition that's not in here, not in the valley, right?
Right, and they don't know the area,
right? Yeah, 100%.
So cool. That's.
So, what do you tell people when they're moving to Scottsdale? If you recruit somebody from Connecticut, do you give them any advice on it's a dry heat? Right? What do you tell them?
Yeah, it is a dry heat. But they usually want to, they usually already know. So I'm not, we're not calling them up and just saying hey, have you ever thought about, Arizona? So that it's an easy, it's so easy to twist someone's arm to come to Phoenix.
I know, right?
Scottsdale, who wouldn't want to be here?
Sure. Yeah, no, totally. That's funny. That's hilarious. So as a business owner, we're going to go off a little bit from the recruiting, but so what's been your biggest challenge as a business owner? Because we have a ton of businesses that follow us and that are in our networking group and everything else.
Yeah.
And it's always interesting to hear from another business owner, what was your biggest hurdle, or, what's your ongoing headache that you just hate about doing it?
Yeah, I love that. I think as a small business owner, a challenge has always been how do I do everything? Yeah. Or how do I delegate the things that I am not good at?
Right.
Because I can, and I do this all the time. I take out a sheet of paper or I put it in my phone. What do I love doing? And that's it's easy to say that. And then I think, what are all the things that I don't really love?
Right.
And usually it's a longer, it's a long list of tasks.
Totally.
Right?
You just have to get done.
Yeah. But then when I identify and I look down, I'm okay, well, what can I actually delegate someone else, that can do it? And sometimes there really isn't anyone else that can do it or knows the information to be able to do it. And so those just stay on my plate. Yeah. And so it's a matter of always, just making sure that I'm in the best place. What am I, spending my time on? Is this best usage of my time? Yeah. And do I enjoy it? So I always try to get two of those. And then the other challenge I would say, and this is, I know for all businesses out there, it's your staff. It's finding the right people.
Yeah. Well, that's what you guys do.
Right?
And you still got to do it for yourself.
That's what I do. And that actually, in certain time periods, that has been the hardest thing to find the right person internally. And is it more skill set or is it more cultural? It's a little bit of both. Okay. It's having that, that recipe with all the right ingredients in there. And sometimes you just don't know because you can find, this is for, all companies, you can interview someone and you can think, wow, they're a perfect fit. I like their, their experience.
And a week later, you can't stand them.
Well, and then they come in and maybe they were really successful somewhere else. Right. And they come in and it's just, you can tell it's not that perfect. You need to maneuver it a little bit and see if it's going to work. But sometimes you don't know until you actually
until you
start
walk the path with them.
and jump in. So I would say I've learned a lot throughout the years. And so now I also have empathy from my clients too when we're talking. And it's a big deal because it's the most important part of your business is your 100%. Team. And it's also the hardest to find.
So do you find, like in the recruiting arena, do you find it easier to work with like the business owner or like management?
Yeah, I like working directly with the owners.
Yeah.
And it just depends on the company and the dynamics. We tend to focus more on that small to mid-sized company.
Okay. Yeah.
That we
so you're dealing with the guy that writes the checks.
Yeah, or the hiring leaders, where we're able to talk directly to the manager that the person will be reporting to. I think that's always important to know that synergy that we need to find. Usually the bigger the company, the less partnership we have over time. So we usually help companies when they're either scaling up, they're going through a lot of growth or change or acquisition.
So when they get big, do they kind of take it in-house a little bit more?
They usually do. Yeah. So we've helped companies like startup companies where we help them in the beginning. And then as they grow, we help them build their HR and recruiting team. And then they get to that level and
so they don't need us.
Yeah, it's like they don't need us as much, but we still help, but it's usually in a smaller capacity.
I love it. Yeah. So as a lifelong lifelong Arizona resident, right? Mm-hmm. So I love this question because it throws everybody a curveball, but what's your favorite restaurant?
What is my favorite restaurant?
Hopefully in Scottsdale, but it doesn't have to be.
It is in Scottsdale, and I will tell you, it's Dominic's.
Oh, wow. There we go. I love it. I love it.
Dominic's. Yeah. And we just, every time we have ever gone there, my fiance and I, we always talk about it. Yeah. It's always amazing, and it's always the same.
Yeah.
Like you walk in, service is great. The food is amazing. We had our holiday party there.
Did you do it upstairs?
No, I usually ask for like a quieter. When we
go
with our holiday party, like our team. Yeah. A quieter table. And we've done that there 3 years in a row. In fact, this year we were like, should we go to Dominic's again? Or should we
why mess with the great thing?
Do something else? And we always just say, let's just go back because we always know it's going to be good.
It's funny because that's probably one of my top 2 or 3 restaurants in the Valley too. Yeah. I absolutely love that place. And the upstairs is amazing too, right?
Beautiful.
If you hang out up there, yeah, it's like crazy.
The funny thing, I know, the funny thing is they always call the next day to see how your dinner.
How did it go?
And I have to say, even though usually it goes like, I don't get it, like it'll go to voicemail. I always wait for it.
I know, right? Puts a little smile on your face though.
They called again, because you don't see that, I think, nowadays, like customer service and just, consistency.
Totally.
Sometimes you don't see that as much. So,
it is a little hard to get a seat in there anymore, though. They seem to be pretty busy all the time now. Even the bar, like the reserve in the bar seats, it's like, you guys are killing me.
Yeah. And I love it. They're on open table, so it's super easy. And,
totally. Yeah. Love it. Well, so this is Sharon Bondurant with The Finders. Yes, The Finders. Give us all your information. Like, where can we find it? Instagram, online, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So we are on Instagram. I would say our website, which is the little hyphen sign
in the middle,
finders.com. I know you'll probably put it in the show notes. That's probably the easiest way. I'm on LinkedIn. So you could message me there. Our team's on there. So I would say those are the 2.
Love it.
Best ways. Yeah.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for visiting with us today.
Thanks,
and
John.
We're looking forward to sharing your story with everybody out there in our audience. And have a wonderful weekend.
You too.
Thank you.
Thanks.